Hey everyone, this is Clint. I wanted to give you an update on the Eric Esquivel situation. Now, this is starting to remind me a lot of Aziz Ansari when he had allegations thrown at him. Now, I'm not interested in any of Esquivel's writing. I'm not interested in his politics, that's for sure. And I'm not interested in any books that seek to intertwine those kinds of politics and shove them down my throat. And if there's two things that social justice warriors like to do, it is eat their own and do any kind of mental gymnastics possible in order for them to defend their belief system. At first, I heard, saw on Twitter a lot of people seeming to be apologists for the accusations, and now things have really shifted the other direction, or I'm seeing more and more people shifting the other direction, which is to condemn and accept those allegations as truth. Now, neither of these is an acceptable route to go. That's not how the justice system works. That's not how common sense works. You don't have to decide if an allegation is true or false from a public perspective. What you need to do is seek an investigation. It's to have the truth come out and be willing to accept the truth one way or the other. Now, despite me having differences with Eric Esquivel, I think that he should have the right to have an investigation, and if things need to go to trial, if there's any evidence for things to go to trial, then go to trial and let due process take its course. Now, I'm very pessimistic that there will be any evidence. It was a long time ago. There's no way to really find additional evidence. Barring something pretty amazing. But these kinds of allegations are going, in all honesty, they're going to remain allegations forever. And you'll see, some of the people on Twitter, they're both condemning Esquivel and defending Border Town. Now, to me, these don't really have, even though he wrote Border Town, they don't really have all that much to do with each other. I think Border Town is not a book I'm interested in. I'm not interested in his politics. However, when it comes to allegations like this, I'm more into finding out the truth than I am condemning him for points. So the weird thing here is that at first you saw a lot of social justice warriors that were trying to defend him or dismiss the allegations, and now everybody's jumping on board and throwing him under the bus with all their might. In this comment here, an acclaimed series from a Latino perspective was co-created by a piece of crap. Okay, so this is where there's some serious cognitive dissonance, because the belief is that if you write something that supports those politics or supports identity politics, then therefore you must be a good and virtuous person. And this is, to me, is highlighting the falsehood of this ideology. The two don't go hand in hand. Again, this is it's reminding me a lot of Aziz Ansari. He got critically acclaimed for his Master of None series, and then here it turns out that there was accusations against him, and I still haven't heard anything from him. I think he's pretty well laying low it's been at least a year now, over a year. So the order in which everything went down, I think, is also being obscured a little bit. So the Border Town series, before it was canceled, the artist and the colorist both dropped out. So that definitely put Vertigo and DC in a hard position, because what do? They have to create a whole new creative team if they really wanted to support the book still. Of course they're not going to do that, because in today's day and age, an allegation is all you need. So first, the colorist Tamara says, 2 days ago, I was first made aware of the experiences shared by Cynthia Noggle about her relationship with Bordertown writer Eric Esquivel. The way he treated her was disgusting and inexcusable, and issue 5 is my last issue working on Bordertown. So again, I don't like Eric Esquivel, but the assumption of guilt is wrong. It's weird to me that so many people are just assuming that he's guilty. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to defend him, especially if they find out that he is guilty. All I'm saying is right now there's no evidence. There's an allegation. That is it. Tamara continues, it shames me to have spent so much time and energy working with someone who is capable of such actions, and I'm sorry if the delay in response caused some confusion about my feelings. I can only imagine the outpouring or the weight that goes on these other creators and on DC and Vertigo, just from the mob wanting some kind of reaction. I don't know. There's definitely like a period you'd have to figure out what exactly you're going to do if this is a hill you're willing to die on or not. So because the colorist and the artist both drop out, that definitely puts DC Vertigo in a very tough position. And so of course DC Vertigo is going to cancel the series. Not only did they cancel the series, but they also made the issues returnable. This is both, in my opinion, sort of erasing anything that happened, undoing anything that happened, any business partnership or relationship, but also I guess I can definitely see if you were reading the series and you were into it, you read the first 4 issues, you'd be pretty upset if you weren't able to finish it. I would be upset. So having returnable copies is, I guess that's nice. Okay, and then finally we have the statement from Esquivel himself. I find some things interesting here. I can't imagine the specific details of what he's going through. However, I am gonna make my own speculations based off of this, and I have the freedom to do that, so I'm going to do that. Esquivel says, I was recently accused of misconduct by a former romantic partner. Not recent misconduct which allegedly happened many years ago. Out of respect for her and our prior relationship, I will not publicly name names. I'm not sure I've heard a statement like this anytime someone's accused publicly, especially when the accuser has their name out there. It seems weird to me to not name their name, but whatever. I'm not sure if this is supposed to make me feel better about him. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I've never been in this situation, but if I was, I can't imagine taking that route as the high road. It doesn't really make sense to me. I don't see the benefit. He continues, I've taken a few days to respond because I wanted to make sure I wasn't talking over anyone. You weren't talking over anyone. Now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's innocent until he's proven guilty. Having said that, if I was accused of something that I did not do, I wouldn't wait so that everyone could say their piece, so that I could avoid talking over anyone. I would be talking over everyone. It just seems like that's the thing you would do. Now, if you talk to a lawyer about things, then maybe a lawyer might tell you to keep your mouth shut. I don't know. I would be interested in hearing from a lawyer that has dealt with things like this to see how you would be told to proceed. It seems super strange to me. And in fact, in any other recent case of someone being accused of sexual misconduct, they usually immediately address it. And if I am comparing this to Aziz Ansari, even he came out with a statement very, very quickly and sort of explained his side of the situation. He continues, we're in the midst of a very important cultural conversation right now, one I wholeheartedly believe in. So this is the really strange mental gymnastics. And I'm not going to say this has nothing to do with guilt or innocence. This has everything to do with the allegation. So we know that he has been accused of sexual misconduct. That's not a question. That's not up for debate. We know that the accusation happened and it is pointed at him. He agrees with that. Noggle agrees with that. There's nobody that's disagreeing with this. This is truth. So with that accusation, whether it's true or false, his response is to stand up basically for the Me Too movement and this sort of way of dealing with things, making things public and making it mob justice or mob rule. It seems really, really crazy to me that he'd be standing up for this kind of thing. If he was innocent, why would you stand up for it? I mean, even if you're guilty, like the natural thing would be to say, this is a false accusation against me and it is destroying my career and probably my life. And if that's the case, I would not be bending over backward to try and cover up for the Me Too movement. It makes no sense. But this is what a lot of people, the extreme are thinking and are defending. He continues, "Never in my life did I expect that I would become one of the accused. I will not speculate as to her motivation for making these reckless allegations, but I want to make it clear that they're false. Though our relationship was unconventional, we always treated one another with dignity and respect." Now, the unconventional relationship is talked about in more detail in Nagel's blog post. Don't really want to get into that. It's kind of gross. But I also wonder why the statement that this is false is pushed down all the way into the middle of this statement. Again, if it was me, and I'm thinking back to like the Brett Kavanaugh hearing, the first sentence out of his mouth, essentially, I don't know if this is the very first thing, but right at the top, there's denial, and he's saying that it's false. First and foremost, that the accusation is false. Then, secondly, you can say you hold no ill will, or whatever route you want to take. If you want to try and take the high road, go for it. But to me, it just would make sense from just a public relations perspective that you'd want to say that first, that this is false. You'd want to deny it. Again, this has nothing to do with whether he's guilty or innocent, but this has everything to do with the fact that he has been accused of something horrific, life ruining. Whether it goes to trial or not, or there's any investigation, this accusation has already done its work. His career is over. And I think by him sort of bowing down to the established set of ideas, I don't know, maybe he's hoping that'll save him. I don't think that's going to be the case. He continues, "I heavily encourage and will fully cooperate in any forthcoming independent investigation of these claims, which I am confident will show that I have been falsely accused." The truth is, it's going to be near impossible to prove that he did it. Like, even if, let's say he did it, it's going to be near impossible for them to get any evidence to prove that. It's going to be even more impossible to prove that it was a false accusation. There may be some other witnesses that could speak to that. Who knows? Maybe more will come out about Nagel, and she'll, admit more, perhaps. There could be other things. But the truth is, this is going to be a mystery forever. No one's really going to know what happened. But the accusation is enough, and he will likely never work in comics again. And then he finishes off his statement by saying, "I have been notified that DC Vertigo has canceled the book I was working on. My heart breaks for the book's supporters and my creative collaborators." Now remember, we just talked about those collaborators, and they dropped off first. They cut ties before Vertigo did. And yeah, I mean, just because of the accusation, it's going to taint their reputations as well. Isn't that an insane world we live in, where there's guilt by association, and you have to just totally denounce and cut somebody off in order to save your own career? He says they don't deserve to be negatively affected by this unfortunate situation. Well, there's literally no other way around this. Hoping that DC Vertigo is going to still continue to publish the book. I imagine the sales are going to be massively worse than they were before, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then somehow this has something to do with Comicsgate. Of course, people within Comicsgate have been critical of Eric and his Border Town series. And of course, people are going to want an investigation and want things to be taken seriously. It should be taken seriously. Absolutely. You can't just say that it was false. But when people are lumping in Comicsgate because there's been an accusation that first everybody was willing to defend, all the same leftists who were okay about condemning anybody else, to the right of them politically for any accusation whatsoever. Then all of a sudden they change their mind and they're trying to defend him. So of course, Comicsgate is going to be critical of that. It's hypocrisy, and it should be pointed out. Having said that, people both within and outside of Comicsgate should also not be, calling for him to go to prison. They should be calling for an investigation for the truth to be sought. But I, for one, am not naive enough to believe that the truth will ever fully come out. I think this is always going to just remain a mystery, and it will always be a cloud that hangs over Eric's head. Now, things can change. Public opinion does change. A great example of that is James Gunn. Not exactly the same kind of situation, but he had a scandal. People were outraged. He lost his job, and he's already he's got another job. So it is entirely possible that things can change. Things can shift. The narrative changes a little bit, and he could be back writing comics. For right now, though, in the foreseeable future, I don't think so. I think he's going the way of Aziz Ansari, and he's going to disappear for a very long time. So I realize this is a touchy subject, and a lot of people are, have very strong opinions on it. I'd love to hear what they are in the comments. If we can't talk about these things, then what good is free speech? So I think, that's my take on it. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.